just like strings, lists come with many methods defined on them that allow you to manipulate the content of the list. And the way to display them all is to use the dir keyword, which basically gives you a list containing all those methods. This is a list itself. If you notice, it started with an open bracket, it's all commas, and there is a close bracket down here. Regardless, all these things these methods that start with a double underscore and with a double underscore are part of the internal workings of the objects, so don't worry about them. Those that you normally want to use are these: append, clear, copy, count, extend, index, insert, pop, remove, reverse, sort. And we're going to see examples of most of them over here. Many of them are quite intuitive. Append you use a lot actually, and that basically appends whatever you put here to the end of the list. So my list here is called Q, and if I put append, then the Q is going to include the string out at the end of it. The operation that undoes this is called pop, and pop will return the last element of the queue, and you will remove it from the queue. So if you run this bit of code, what's happening here is that first out gets added to the end of the list, and then it gets popped, so it's returned by this and it's printed. And then the queue remains reversed to what it was before because you have removed the last element, so it's last in first. Now, as you have seen, append adds an element to a list. So what happens if you want to add all the elements from a second list to the list you already have? And for that you use extend. So if we extend the list Q with this other list, what we get is that last in, first, second, third. Now it may be a bit tricky to distinguish between when we have to use append and when we have to use extend, but in reality, as always, it's good to experiment. See what happens if we use append instead. So I copy this list. And I'll go back here and run this bit again so that I get my list equal to last in first, which was the state in which this pop leaves it. And then I'll run this line, and actually I forgot to print the result, so I'll do it in a separate cell so that I don't append that thing again. Print Q. So you see, if I append that to the list, this list becomes an element of the first list. Compare this one with that one. In this case, we have extended the first list, which was last in first, by 2 elements, second and third, that have been added as individual elements, while in this other case, using append, you have put in this list as an element of the list Q. So this is not wrong. A list can be an element of another list. It may just not be what you want, or it may be the thing you want, depending on your application. But that's the difference between these two when you feed a list to append. Now let me remove these two cells and let's continue with the other examples. So I'll start again from here and remove pretty much does what it says on the tin. It will remove the first instance of this element found in the list. So if there were another in at the end, that wouldn't get removed. Reverse turns the list around and then sorts it in alphabetical order for strings, in numerical order for numbers. And finally, q.clear removes all the contents of the list and leaves you with the empty string. Sorry, with the empty list.